Episode 5, Center Stage. We've told some of these stories already. Episode 5, if we're going to talk about Center Stage, it's probably revisiting some of the things we already talked about. So there's the choir concert solo. There's the opportunity that I had to play Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird. The musicals that I was able to participate in high school were Guys and Dolls my junior year. My senior year it was My Fair Lady, where I was able to play Henry Higgins. And then later on in my senior year, rather than play tennis again, I thought, well, I'm going to try the dinner theater because I passed on that the previous year. So I didn't play tennis, and I did this dinner theater, and it was a Rodgers and Hammerstein musical review. And there was a lot of fun memories about it, but it was probably not a really great show. I remember we all really struggled with the production quality, the choreography. Hopefully we sounded great, but that was one of those things. So is there anything else on there that I'm missing that I didn't mention?
You did say, I don't know if it just my time in stage taught me a lot of self-confidence, preparation, and to speak with diction.
Yeah. So all of these experiences on stage, if I go way even before high school, I had a fourth grade teacher who was really adamant about poetry. And we would memorize poetry and we would recite it. And of course, at that age, I was like, I can memorize more poetry than anyone, I memorized 30 poems. 30 poems. And everyone was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. So, memorizing and performing were kind of like instilled within me at a very young age. And I felt like those were abilities that I had even still in high school, even though they were probably pretty rough, not very polished. But yeah, having the opportunity, first of all, to do that choir concert and to just stand up and sing that Paul Simon when I was a little boy, that was so great. And it just fed the next audition. I remember the next audition I was singing yet again another Simon and Garfunkel song, and that was for probably Guys and Dolls. And we're in the audition and we're standing next to our classmates, and the directors are saying, okay, they're trying to figure out who looks good together and heights and all that kind of stuff. And I have the opportunity to get the lead role as a junior, like unheard of. I just didn't think that was going to be possible. And so that was a huge confidence builder, huge. And to be recognized throughout the process of doing some things really, really well was pretty neat. I was really grateful to have the directors that we had, because they knew when to push you and to offer the constructive criticism. And they also knew when to just say, hey, you're doing really good, right? It was really great. To Kill a Mockingbird was an interesting experience because it was dealing with something that is a big deal. And this is with my 2025 lens. Like, To Kill a Mockingbird is a big deal, and the way that it deals with race and the problems that they were having when Harper Lee wrote that book. I had no clue back then. I had never read it. In fact, I think it was required reading in one of my English classes, and I still didn't read it because I just felt, well, I'm in it. I'm in the play. I memorized half of it, But to be able to memorize those poignant phrases and just the wisdom that came from Atticus Finch was huge. And you can't do something like that. And I realized this as a 17-year-old kid, like this character carries the weight that is more mature than your entire school and half the adults in the room, right? Like, it needs to be presented that way. And we had a great cast. There was a gal who I think she was maybe 11 years old. She was actually the little sister of a friend of mine that I had a crush on years and years before. Anyway, she shows up and she's our scout. Just short gal, young. And she's playing the daughter in this high school production. The rest of us are high schoolers. And, I'm having this experience where, like, I'm the dad. And I'm carrying and trying to teach this girl these really, really tricky concepts of we're all created equal. And she's asking why people are using this language and using the N-word. And I'm just saying, well, this is why that's going on. And this is what's right. And this is what's not. That's the kind of experience that I'm hoping kids have when they're in the theater, is have some kind of transformation where they learn something that is not going to be learned in a history book. You don't learn that stuff the same way in a history book. And then as we move forward into that senior year, after To Kill a Mockingbird, it was My Fair Lady. There was no romance like there was in Guys and Dolls. But there is. My Fair Lady is a very romantic show, but you have these two characters that are not romantically involved. And only later, as I think about it, I think about how that chemistry worked and what the story was. He was trying to create her into a duchess, right? And all the while, I didn't realize that she was actually creating him into becoming a softer human being that wasn't such a jerk. And you don't see that until the very, very end. And at the very end, it's just the tip of the iceberg. And there's no sequel to My Fair Lady, but I love the ending because it just kind of gives you a glimpse of what's this relationship going to turn into. And you don't want it to be romantic, but you do want it to carry on. She does become refined. And you think, well, of all the people that have the power to make someone who's a real jerk into a soft person and a kind person, it's Eliza Doolittle, right? I didn't recognize any of that then. I just recognized I have a ton of lines. In fact, the book that I had just had my lines in it. And then, I would rehearse with the gal. Her name was Amy Alvord. Her married name is Alvord. Her name back then was Amy Knowles. Her book was like half the size of mine, and she's the other lead, right? And I'm just like, man, I just have a ton of words to say, right? And I got to swear. Like Henry Higgins loved to swear. He'd say damn and hell. There was one line where I mixed it up, and I'd say, I was supposed to say damn Mrs. Pierce and damn the coffee, and I mixed it up saying damn the Pierce and damn Mrs. Coffee. That was during a show. And the directors definitely made sure that I recognized how I flipped those words. But what a fun thing to do for extracurricular activities, just to carry that weight where you just had to show up and carry your lines, carry your part. There was the British accent, and not only did you have to speak British, but you had to know what kind of British accent. Eliza Doolittle's going to be doing one kind, and I'm doing another kind, right? And so I kind of took some pride in knowing, like, what I'm doing is passable. If I was to watch it now, maybe I'd cringe. I'm sure I'd cringe at some parts, but I couldn't just kind of get by like we did maybe the year before with the New York accent, right? If I'm going to be a phonetic person, a professor, I've got to get it right, and I think we did okay. That was fun to be on stage.